Don't you just love it when quilt designers have you sew blocks that are bigger than they're to be and then you square them up at the end? Have you noticed that those blocks are actually easier to assemble? The quilt is easier to quilt and it lays flatter at the end. Hi, I'm Sarah from Heirloom Creations and this is our ruler of the month. We are featuring the Tucker Trimmers by Deb Tucker, and her ingenious set of 3 different rulers allows you to trim up squares that all have diagonal type lines through them so you get the perfect size. Now, we're going to show you how you can adapt quilt blocks that are already perfectly cut when you cut those patterns, adapt them so they are cut slightly larger, and use these trimmers to get that perfect size every time. Let's identify the different markings on the Tucker trimmers. There's the Tucker Trimmer 1 that is great for cutting and trimming down 11 different sizes from 1 inch to 6 inch, and those are finished sizes. So if you need a 6.5 inch block, this is the one to get. This is the most popular size. And we're going to show you how wonderful these markings are, because on one side you'll cut for finished sizes that are in whole numbers, and that's why the circle is a whole circle. But if you're working with sizes like you're probably used to, finished size 4.5 or finished size 5.5, look for the little half circle, and that's going to indicate you're working on the 1/2 inch size. I actually look for these myself instead of looking for the actual numbers. It's a little easier to read. Now here is the Tucker Trimmer 2. The Tucker Trimmer 2 is a middle size. It's going to cut sizes that are measured 1/4 inch or 3/4. So like one of the markings is 2 3/4. You won't need this one as much, but it's one of those things just like having extra knives at your kitchen counter for different size projects. You always have a couple sizes you reach for the most. The large one, a small paring knife. This is one of those middle sizes that you reach for, but not every day. So this is a great one to have if you're buying the whole set. That's great to have. And then it has those other sizes. Especially good if you're doing like border type things and you need them to match, and all of a sudden you realize you need blocks that are 2 3/4 finished, and you're like, oh, I don't calculate that. No problem. This Tucker Trimmer is going to be ideal. Now here is the large one. This is the Tucker Trimmer 3, being able to cut up to a 13 inch block. Yes, 13. Now most of the time you're going to be doing a 12.5 inch block. Now this block here is actually, I'll show you, one of my favorites. It's the Rapid Fire Lemoyne Star, also from Deb Tucker. We have done a video on this, so we'll link to it from the link below this YouTube video into our blog, and you can watch this. These blocks, the Lemoyne Star blocks, love them because look how much extra is put to the outside. And the way you put this together is ingenious. But we have that fudge factor, we have the trim down option. So as we would use this, we would be trimming down to the 12.5 inch size. And so our first cut would be based on that. And you're trimming off about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. But guess what? Then that block is the perfect size for your pattern. Another thing you might want to do is put the true grips on. Then you can make sure that these blocks or the rulers don't slip when you go and move them around, and they're really going to stay nice and even as you cut. Now if you're left-handed, these rulers will do left-handed cuts with the directions for that. Speaking of the directions, in these directions that come with it, there is going to be a chart for a variety of different blocks, from half square triangles, kind of a combination unit, and also an hourglass block. A lot of those blocks you do for quilts over and over and over. So if you would like to adjust a pattern that has you cut exact sizes and those aren't always coming out exact for you, here is your adaptation chart, so you can size them up just a little bit and then use the Tucker trimmers to trim them down. Let's get into how you're going to do this. Let's quick show you how we do the different kinds of blocks and then into how do we trim them down. So for example, this is going to get trimmed down to a 4.5 inch block, but we've cut squares 5.5 inches. So first thing you're going to do is go ahead and draw a line down the fabric. Now if this is something that bugs you, and it actually for some reason bugs me, I'm not one to want to sit and draw lines, but I'm going to for right now. I'm going to show you what you can do instead. You can use one of the clearly perfect angles. This is a cling that you put on your sewing machine bed and allows you to stitch without having to draw any lines. See how the lines are put with the points, and then you can actually stitch 1/4 inch to the side of the line. You just watch that go up. I'll show you real quick how that's done. But after you've stitched both sides, you trim them, and then you have your half square triangles. Isn't that great? And you're going to get pairs as you go. And then also too, you're not kind of stretching out that bias because it's kind of all contained, and then you cut it and press it. Now if you want to do the little hourglass sizes, you need to get 2 of those. Put them together. And then we're going to put them so they're opposite corners. Draw that line or use the clearly perfect angles. Those are great. And again, stitch on both sides and then cut down the middle and you'll have your hourglass blocks. So Tucker trimmers. So let's go ahead and start with one of the hourglass blocks. And this is going to get trimmed down to a 4.5 inch size. So first thing you're going to do is look for the diagonal line down the middle. And you're going to notice that we're going to have just a smidge out to each side. And I can line up everything so I can see it. And then we're going to go across and across. Now, if you were left-handed, what we would have done is we would have lined this up over on this side, and we would have come across and across the top. So, super easy. Turn it 180 degrees. And now we have the cleanup lines. The cleanup lines are actually kind of dotted lines also. Now we can use these lines plus the ones in the middle to go ahead and get that perfectly accurate final 2 sides. Now we're ready to sew that together. And you know how wonderful it is when this corner and that corner matches with your next block because they too have been trimmed with the Tucker trimmers. Okay, I have to include this because it's so nice. The Clearly Perfect Angles Cling here is going to sit on the bed of your sewing machine. Just go ahead and stick it. You'll see once you touch it down, it will work. This is great if your sewing machine is also in a cabinet. Now what you're going to do is as you put it in, you're going to always look at the end of your corner. Your eye is going to follow this in. Now if you're going corner to corner, you're going to go right down the middle. This is so you don't have to draw those lines. Now we need to sew 1/4 inch on either side. So take the corner and come over here to the outside edge. Now when you sew, you'll be 1/4 inch to the side, and then when you turn around, do that again. Same line, don't change anything, and you'll be also 1/4 inch on the other side. Go ahead and cut down the middle, and then press open your half square triangles. Here, let me show you how to do these combination blocks. What's nice is you start off with that half square triangle you just made, and then take one of those and another square. Now what you'll have here is you're going to cut that square that same 5.5 inches or any of the other notations on the instructions. But look, when you layer this down, it's bigger than what the first one is. That's okay. Draw that line, or once again, use the part where you don't have to draw the lines. Love that. And then what you're going to do, sew on both sides, and then there's your combination units with the extra larger size. So we're going to take the Tucker trimmer, the first one, once again. Start with your half. This one's going to go right into here. And you'll line up both diagonal lines and then go ahead and trim 1 and 2 and then turn it around and trim the other side. And it will be the perfect size. Isn't that great? Now with your larger blocks like the Lemoyne Star, here let's move this one over here, and the block. This is great. The only time I pin this block is when I'm sewing the final seam and I'm putting all the angles together. Notice everything, the way you make this, all presses to the one side in kind of a rotation here. Love it. So it really comes out super flat. And then you come back with the Tucker trimmer and find yourself getting the perfect finished size. So here we go. We'll take that dotted line down not the dotted line. There we go. The solid line. I'm looking right down the middle here. Line up those lines, and look, I'm going to just trim off just a little bit all the way around, and you'll be set to go. The Tucker trimmers are available on our website at heirloomcreations.net.